A simple ACTA-long cargo vessel moved slowly through the quiet region of Sector 7. It was an old ship with rusted edges and worn-out engines. The crew was small and peaceful. They were not warriors or explorers. They only carried supplies between colonies. The captain of the ship was a quiet being named Rel. His face always stayed calm even when others panicked. Alongside him worked 3 more crew members. All of them had lived in space most of their lives. They avoided trouble and stayed away from conflict. That day they were traveling past the edge of a neutral zone. It was a place where many old battles had taken place. No one came here anymore. The stars above looked distant and cold. Space felt empty and quiet. But that calm was broken when one of the crew noticed a signal. It was faint and weak. Almost lost in the noise, Rel asked for the source. One of the crew found it near a debris field. At first they thought it was just broken metal floating in space. But then a closer scan revealed something else. A pod, small, damaged, spinning slowly. Inside the pod was life. The crew looked at the screen in silence. Inside the escape pod was a human, alone, injured, unmoving. One of the crew members warned against going closer. He said helping a human could bring attention. He said humans were known for their strange loyalty and unpredictable actions. But Rel did not care about such warnings. He said the human was alive. That was enough reason. They brought the pod aboard. The airlock hissed. The door opened with a long creak. Smoke came out. Then they saw him. The human was unconscious, blood on his face. His uniform torn. One hand still gripped a tool. The other rested on his chest. On that chest was a badge. It read Unit 9H, no other name. Rel gave orders to clean him up and begin treatment. They placed the human in the medical bay. Machines worked to fix the wounds. The crew worked quietly. No one knew what the human had gone through. No one asked as time passed. The ship continued moving forward. They stayed away from trade routes, avoided contact. The crew checked on the human every few hours. His body was healing, but his eyes stayed closed. On the 4th day, something strange happened. The human opened his eyes. He did not speak at first. He looked around, saw the crew, saw the ceiling. Then he whispered only 3 words. They will come. The crew did not understand what he meant. Rel asked him to rest. But the human repeated the words again, this time with more strength. Then he slept again. Later that night the ship received a signal. Strange and sharp, short pulses, then silence. Then another pulse, a repeating pattern. The crew could not translate it. Soon after another message arrived. But this time it came through a secure channel, a channel only used by human colonies. The screen lit up with a symbol no one had seen before. It was the emblem of Earth. A voice came through. Calm, strong, clear. You helped one of ours. Thank you. Stand by. The message ended. No other words. Just silence. The crew looked at each other. No one said anything. No one moved. Next day the ship's sensors picked up movement. One vessel appeared. Then another. Then 5, 10, 20. A wall of ships began to form around them. All marked with the symbol of Earth. The crew watched through the window as more ships came. Some small, some huge. None of them spoke. None of them attacked. They just floated there. Silent guardians in the dark. The galaxy was watching now. Other races started sending drones to record the scene. No one had ever seen so many human ships in one place. All for one person. That evening a message came from a nearby government. A voice demanded the human be handed over. Said the crew had broken a law. Said the pod belonged to an enemy of the state. Said failure to obey would bring punishment. Rel refused. He said nothing belonged to anyone. He said the man was injured and they saved him. That was all. More threats came. The message said the crew had 1 day to respond. If not, the ship would be boarded and searched. The crew began to worry, but Earth responded before the day was over. Their message was short and cold. They helped one of us. They are under our protection. Now no one knew what would happen next, but all could feel the air change. The stars no longer looked cold. They burned with quiet fire. Above the small ship floated the entire strength of a planet. Not for war, not for power, but for one reason, because someone helped a human, and now humanity had answered the call. Humanity listens. Crew of the freighter moved through their routines with quiet fear. Outside, the window space remained dark and wide, but it no longer felt empty. Ships from Earth filled the distance like stars had taken shape and armor. Some were large and powerful. Some were fast and sharp. None of them spoke. All waited inside the freighter. The air had grown heavy. Rel watched the screens without blinking. His hands rested on the control board, but he made no movement. The others whispered in corners. They checked engines, cleaned floors, adjusted systems that needed no adjustment. Anything to avoid looking at the message that still blinked on the main screen. You are in violation. Surrender the human or face consequences. The human remained in the medical bay. Still weak, still recovering. His eyes opened now and then. Each time he asked the same thing, were the ships still there? And each time the crew answered yes. All of them still there. One of the younger crew asked why the humans had come. Rel replied with a calm voice. He said this was not about war. This was not about orders. This was something older. Something deeper. A promise, perhaps. Made not with words, but with action. The next day brought silence. No new messages. No new movement. The fleet of Earth held position. The Empire's patrol. Ships stayed at the edge of the system. The galaxy leaned closer. Drones from many worlds hovered nearby. Streams of data flowed across star networks. Every government watched. Every leader waited in the quiet space of the freighter. The crew received a private signal. It came not from a ship but from Earth itself. Not a leader, not a general. A message from the people. Thousands of voices joined into one wave. A simple message repeated again and again. We stand with those who stand with us. You helped one. You helped us all. The crew did not understand all the words, but they felt the meaning. One of them wept without knowing why. Another placed his hand over the human's badge and whispered the message back. Rel said nothing. He only stared through the glass toward the growing sea of ships. His thoughts moved back to the first time he had seen a human. Not in real life, but on old screens. Humans were strange, wild, full of fire, no two ever the same. Many feared them. Some admired them. But none ignored them. Now he understood why late that night, the Empire sent a small ship forward. It stopped just outside the human line. A signal followed. The voice on the screen sounded proud and sharp. It gave one final warning: surrender or be removed by force. No delay, no mercy. Rel listened to the full message. When it ended, he closed the screen. Then he turned to his crew. He asked if anyone wished to leave the ship. No one spoke. He nodded. That was enough. They did not run. They did not hide. They stayed. Minutes later, the human fleet changed position. Not aggressive, not threatening, just a shift. As if a single breath passed through the ranks. Lights came on. Energy pulsed. Shields raised. Weapons prepared. Still no words. The Empire's ship turned and fled. That act sparked a fire in many corners of the galaxy. Debates began. Some called the human response too much. Some called it justice. Others said nothing but took careful notes. The freighter remained at the center of it all, still quiet, still floating, still waiting. Inside the medical bay, the human stood for the first time. He wore a simple shirt and spoke with a rough voice. He thanked the crew, looked each one in the eye, then said something strange. I am not special. No one understood, he explained. He said any human in his place would have done the same. And any crew that helped a human would receive the same answer. Not because of orders, not because of power. Because it was right. One crew member asked if the human was ready to leave. He shook his head. He said not yet. He wanted to stay until... The message was clear. Until every watcher across the stars understood, you do not need to fear humans. You only need to treat them as you wish to be treated. And if you harm one, you will answer to all. Back on Earth, millions watched the stream. Families in cities. Children on colonies, veterans at outposts. Everyone saw the small freighter ship. Everyone saw the quiet crew. Everyone remembered the first act of simple rescue, no weapons used, no. Deals made only kindness, and so humanity responded not with rage, but with presence, with unity, with weight. In the days that followed, Earth began sending supplies to the freighter, tools, medicine, fresh systems. Not payment, not reward. Respect. The crew accepted the gifts with quiet hearts. They said they needed nothing. The human told them they had already earned something more, the trust of a world, and that was worth more than fleets, more than weapons. More than stars, the galaxy now saw what could not be unseen. One act had opened a gate, and through that gate had come billions, not to conquer, not to take, but to stand, to listen, to protect, to remember. And as the second week closed, the human said one more thing before resting. They came for me, not because I asked, but because I mattered to them. That is what it means to be one of us. Who owns the stars? Because I mattered to them. That is what it means to be one of us. Who owns the stars? Stars above the freighter ship now looked different. They still shined the same way. They still hung in silence. But now they seemed to watch. Every corner of space had turned its gaze toward this small ship, not because of its weapons, not because of its size, but because of what it carried. One human, one act of kindness, one answer from a world that refused to stay silent. The Empire did not forget. It did not forgive. It watched the gathering of human ships with growing anger. The freighter had broken no true law. Yet pride pushed the Empire to act. Pride mixed with fear can make powerful minds foolish. They called for a council. One voice from each major system. Old leaders with tired eyes. Some wanted peace. Others demanded action. Many feared what might come next. The room filled with loud words. Blame moved from one side to the other. In the center of it all stood a clear truth. The freighter had helped a human. And now the Empire must decide what that meant. Some called it weakness to ignore the event. Others said war with Earth would cost more than pride. One cold voice stood and asked a question that stopped the room. Do we own the stars, or do we share them? The silence that followed felt heavy. No one wished to answer. The meeting ended without choice. The Empire chose action without agreement. They prepared a fleet. They gave no name to the mission. Only a goal. Seize the freighter. Take the human. Show the galaxy that the Empire still ruled the stars. Back on the freighter, the crew went about their tasks. They cleaned filters, checked wires, watched the scanners. They did not speak much. Words had little meaning now, only choices did. The human sat in the common room, a warm drink in his hands. He looked calm, but his eyes stayed sharp. He had seen war. He had seen silence before the storm. One of the crew asked what Earth would do if the Empire attacked. The human said nothing at first. Then he spoke with quiet strength. They will not attack. They will remove. The meaning of those words stayed in the air like smoke, not a threat. A promise. Then the scanners picked up movement. Small at first, then larger. Dozens of ships moved from the outer system. They came fast. Straight toward the freighter. Not cloaked, not hidden. They wanted to be seen. The human fleet did not move. Not right away. They waited. Not one ship fired. Not one signal sent. Only silence between two sides. But silence can say many things. The freighter sent a message to the Empire fleet. No answer came. Then one voice broke through the static. Harsh. Sharp. Cold surrender the human or be boarded. Final warning. Rel read the message twice. Then he deleted it from the screen. He turned to his crew. He did not tell them what to do. He asked them what they wanted. Each one gave the same answer without pause. They would stay. With the human. With the choice they had made. The Empire. Ships moved closer. Their weapons charged. Shields raised. The final steps before fire. Then came the shift. The human fleet changed shape. Thousands of ships spread wide. Not random. Not chaotic. Like one living thing taking a new form. Battle groups formed layers. Medical ships moved to the back. Fighters formed lines. Defense grids locked into place. No signal, no command. Just movement. One Empire captain hesitated, then another. Some asked if they should retreat. Others pushed forward. The order came from above. Continue. As the first Empire ship crossed the line, a wave of light flashed across space. Human ships fired not to destroy but to disable. Beams of energy struck engines. Ion bursts silenced weapons. Target after target. Lost power. No ships exploded. No crew harmed. But the Empire fleet came to a halt. The freighter remained untouched. The human on board stood at the window, his hands behind his back, his eyes on the battle he'd never asked for. Message came seconds later. One sentence sent from Earth to the Empire. This is your one and only reminder. We do not start war. We end it. The Empire fleet drifted in silence, powerless, defeated without death. The galaxy watched as the truth became clear. This was not about territory, not about fear, not even about the human. It was about meaning. One act had started a wave. One rescue had shown the heart of a world, not in anger, but in unity. A new message was sent to the freighter. Not from Earth, not from the Empire, but from a small neutral station nearby. It read, we saw what you did. We saw how they answered. We will remember. That message spread faster than the battle had. More systems sent words of support. More species asked for talks with Earth. More voices stood behind the crew of the freighter. The Empire retreated, silent, shaken. Human returned to the medical bay and sat beside the table where he had once been a patient. He closed his eyes and whispered a quiet line, not because I matter, but because we all do. The crew began to understand. This story was no longer just about one man or one ship. It had become a turning point, a new shape in the stars, drawn not with fire, but with loyalty, not with fear, but with choice. And that choice had shaken the sky. Fury of the United. The Empire's retreat did not bring peace. It only brought silence. Not the kind that calms the mind. It was the silence before a storm. The kind that makes even strong hearts uneasy. The kind that feels heavy without reason. The freighter crew moved through their tasks with steady hands. But behind every movement lived a question. What will the Empire do now? The human remained quiet. He spent most of his time near the observation window, watching the stars, watching the ships. His face held no fear, only thought. Deep and quiet thought. Earth had made its answer clear. One act of kindness was enough. One life mattered. One freighter had become a symbol. The message had crossed systems and species. Small planets with weak voices now spoke louder. They spoke of unity. They spoke of worth. They spoke of balance, but the Empire was not ready to let go. Not yet. Not without one more move. One more attempt to remind the stars who once ruled them. At the edge of the system a ripple appeared. Not one ship, not 10, hundreds. A new fleet. Larger than before. Heavier. Built for war. Their engines burned with red fire. Their weapons pointed forward. No traitors, no scouts. Only destroyers. They came with no message, no warning, only direction. Only purpose. Humanity saw them before they entered range. Earth's command did not panic. No orders were screened. No threats were made. The fleet adjusted its position. Calm movement. Clean lines. No sign of fear in the freighter Rel stood beside. The human. He asked if this meant war. The human looked at the distant ships and gave no quick answer. Then he said something strange. They will try to scare us not with words, with numbers. But numbers fall when hearts stand. The crew did not fully understand. But they felt the truth in his voice. Empire fleet crossed into range, still no shots fired. Still no signals sent. Then something unexpected happened. The sky changed, not from Earth, not from the Empire. From everywhere else, ships began to arrive one by one, then 10. Then 50, they came from old colonies, from peaceful worlds, from distant systems. That never chose sides. Each ship carried different colors, different shapes, but all of them moved in one direction, toward the freighter. They formed a ring, not to block, but to stand. Messages began to flood the streams, not from soldiers, not from leaders, from people we remember. We saw. We choose to stand. The Empire fleet slowed. Their scans showed more than expected, not just Earth, not just allies, everyone. The galaxy had changed while the Empire slept in pride. The stars had learned to speak together. The human fleet gave one final signal. It did not carry anger. It did not demand surrender. It spoke one truth: you made your choice. Now see what ours looks like. In less than a breath, the sky turned to fire. Human ships did not attack like storm or chaos. They moved with purpose. They struck with light that only touched what was needed. Every engine on the lead Empire ship failed. Weapons locked, shields drained, no lives taken, no systems lost, but the message burned clear: you cannot touch one without facing all. The Empire tried to respond, tried to fight, tried to stand, but they stood alone. Their second wave never came. Their leaders gave no new orders. Their pride broke on the freighter. The crew watched in silence. No one cheered. No one danced. Victory had come, but not through destruction. It had come through choice, through presence, through unity. The human turned from the window. He looked at Rel and the others. You saved one life and you changed the galaxy. Rel gave a quiet nod. He had not wanted glory. He had not wished for war. He only chose to help, and that had been enough. As the Empire fleet left the system, broken but breathing, a new broadcast filled the waves. It came not from Earth, not from the freighter, from a council built in secret, a council born in silence, now ready to speak today. We saw the meaning of unity, not through fear, not through force, but through memory. The memory of one small choice: to lift, to heal, to stand. And now we stand together. The freighter received one final message that day. It carried no command, only a beacon, small, simple, unmarked inside. It held one line: if ever again you feel alone, press once, and we will come. Not just Earth, not just ships, but all who remember. The crew placed the beacon in the center of the ship, not as a tool, as a symbol, because now they knew helping one can awaken billions. And when billions answer, even the stars shift. One was enough. Peace returned to the stars, but it did not feel the same as before. It carried weight now. It held stories in silence. Across the galaxy, whispers moved through space lanes and colonies. Whispers of a freighter, of a wounded man, of ships that came like shadows in light. Every world repeated the tale in its own tongue. But the message stayed the same: help one, and many will come. The freighter floated near a quiet moon now. Repairs complete. Systems stable. The crew worked with care, but their hands felt changed. Not stronger, not richer, only aware. Aware of how far a single act could reach. The human no longer needed rest. He walked the halls like someone seeing the world for the first time. He asked names. He shared food. He told no grand story. He did not speak of victory. He spoke of the day he woke up and saw strangers around him. Strangers who chose to stay. Rel listened more than he spoke. His eyes watched the stars each night. He had lived among them many years, carried goods between places no one remembered. Now he felt like he had helped paint a new map. One not made with borders. One made with moments. A message arrived from Earth. Not from the leaders, not from the military, from students. Children, artists. They asked for images. They asked for names. They wanted to draw the freighter. They wanted to write songs. They wanted to show others how simple choices matter. One boy from a deep colony sent a voice recording. His voice was soft. His words clear. You saved a man. My brother serves in space. Maybe one day someone will save him too. Thank you. That message played on the ship for many days, not because they forgot to turn it off, because no one wanted it to end. Soon, small ships began to visit. Some brought gifts, some brought stories. A few came with only silence and respect. One captain from a farming world gave the crew seeds that could grow in any soil. She said they were flowers that followed light. She called them hope. The crew planted them in a small chamber with heat and air. They watched as green leaves reached upward. Each day they grew taller. Like the story itself, the empire made no move. No message, no threats. Their silence became their answer. They had been met with unity and had nothing more to give. New laws were written across many systems. Ones that protected civilians who offered help in space. Ones that honored kindness without fear of punishment. These laws were not made by Earth alone. They came from many places. From beings who remembered what had been done. One of the crew members placed a small mark near the entrance of the ship. A hand-carved symbol, not from Earth, from his own people. It meant to shield by choice. The human asked him what it stood for. The crew member smiled and said it meant the ship would never fly alone again. The freighter received another message. This one came from a council formed after the event. A new gathering of worlds. They asked for Rel and his crew to speak at their first session. Not as leaders, not as heroes. As witnesses. Rel said they had nothing grand to offer. They had no speeches. No politics. The council said that was exactly what they needed. When they arrived at the council station, they saw no banners. No flags, just a circle of voices. Each one came with a memory. Each one came with a hope. They asked Rel what made him choose to help. He gave a simple answer. Because he was alive. Because we could. No more words followed. None were needed. The crew returned to the freighter. The human walked beside them. He wore no badge now, no rank. Just a plain jacket given by the crew. He said he had received a call to return home. A new unit needed him. He said he would go, but not forever. Before leaving, he placed a small item in the control room. A round metal coin. One side showed the stars. The other showed a freighter with light behind it. Said it was a thank you and a reminder that someone out there would always remember. Rel took the coin and placed it beside the beacon. Two symbols. One from a stranger they had saved, one from a world they had awakened. The human left on a shuttle with no guards. No ceremony, only a quiet farewell. The crew watched as the shuttle disappeared into the dark. None of them cried, but none of them smiled. It was not an ending, it was a continuation. The freighter resumed its routes. Carried goods again, visited small colonies, moved through quiet sectors. Now every docking port welcomed them with respect. Every signal carried a thank you. Every unknown face held kindness. They were not just a crew anymore. They were a story, a living proof that small ships can carry large meaning. One night as Rel sat near the observation window, he looked at the stars and spoke aloud. He said he once believed stars were just fire. But now he believed they could hold memory, and so the freighter moved forward. Through space, through time, through story, not to be remembered as powerful, not to be known as famous only, to be remembered as the ship that helped one and called many. The end.